Another bookkeeping video demonstrated in QuickBooks. This one I'm going to take a look at accepting a payment. I always recommend looking at all my other videos pretty much in the order I've uploaded them. But also my videos will be kind of hit and miss. But if you're in your QuickBooks, the customer drop-down menu and receive payment. It's pretty simple. Now this is just a mock company. I'm yet to actually build it up into a bigger fake company. But I have one invoice that's open. So, more customer, receive payment. There's a lot of things. I don't use much, to be honest. Customer, receive payment. Pretty simple. You'll get this box, and I'm just going to make it bigger. Now, I only have one customer in this company. I named it Customer 1. As you can see, when I start typing, it shows up. Now you can just hit Tab, and it brings up all the invoices for this customer. Now this method you can use to accept a payment, whether it be a check or some kind of electronic funds transfer, EFT, or an ACH, whatever they call it or you want to call it, but an electronic deposit. This example will be with a check. So as you see here, there's an invoice from Customer 1 for $90. I'm going to assume they wrote me a check for $90. And I like to tab through so I don't miss anything. I'll leave it as the date I received the check, whatever that date is. I'm going to tab Payment Method. Now it's preloaded with some stuff in here. As you can see, there's not an ACH or an electronic funds transfer. I'm going to make that real quick. I'll call it Other. It's just that simple. It's just a label for me to know what payment method that is. I'm going to hit OK. But I'm not going to leave it as an ACH. I'm going to leave it as, put it as a check. And then it prompts me for a check number. See, it knows kind of when you're accepting things. So then you put this is a mock number, of course, but you put the customer's check number right there. And usually they'll have a pay stub with the invoice that they're paying, one or more. If this customer had many invoices, they'd be listed. Now, as you can see, the original amount of the invoice, and then the amount due, which is the same amount because they haven't paid anything on this invoice. Now, notice they automatically, QuickBooks automatically checked. I'm going to uncheck it. Sometimes when you have a lot of invoices and it automatically checks, but they don't pay full amounts, I usually just uncheck anyway just to recheck. And what it did, it applied the whole payment evenly because I indicated $90. Now, for some reason, the customer, between the two of you, decided they'd only wanted to pay half. The check is only for $45. It switched this to $45. Now, this column you can change. If there's multiple invoices and they pay different amounts on each invoice, you want to make sure you indicate, so you're both on the same page, what amount on what invoice. That's important to watch. QuickBooks will now down here tell me underpayment. The check's $45. This is $45 on the right invoice with the right check number. But it's going to say you have an underpayment of $45. You can leave it as an underpayment or write it off. I have a video on journal entries, and I'll cover this more as well. I usually don't use this one. I leave it as an underpayment and have them pay it later or let them know why it's unpaid. You just work that out. And then if this were the case, this invoice would stay in here as open with the $45 due on it. But this example is $90. I want to complete this. So it changed it to 90. Now when you hit save and close, when you've decided that this is right, and this one should always equal what this right here should always equal what the check actually is. So your banking doesn't get messed up. and that's what I'll talk about in a moment. So once this is done, and this is the amount of the check or checks, sometimes one customer can send many checks, so different ways to look at it. So hit save and close. If you had more checks from more customers, you could hit save and new. Now, if you had multiple checks from the same customer for some reason, you'd still hit save and new, and you'd have to accept every check individually because there'll be a different check number. So I'm going to hit save and close. Now that I've accepted it, we have to understand, accepting a check or a payment is entirely different than making a deposit. Now if you go customers receive payment, they'll come up with the blank form again to accept a payment. You can click back and find the previous payments. Now, I've only accepted one payment. I'm sorry, I'll repeat that. I've only accepted one payment. Now if I had chosen ACH or some other payment method, it doesn't matter. You always want to accept payments, whether it be a credit card, this is just my opinion on how I do bookkeeping, or an ACH or a check. Either way, you want to accept it via this way, so you can attach it to the invoice and to the right invoice, depending on and by the customer name. So now it's been done, and so no matter what it is here, it will go into an account called undeposited funds. I'm going to close that. Now I should have shown this earlier, but if I go to my chart of accounts, which again I have a video on this, there's now an undeposited funds. It's an asset account because it's funds you have, it's just not in your bank account yet. Now I'll make another video on this, but I just want to point this out. When you accept a payment, it goes into undeposited funds first, and that's exactly what it is, undeposited funds. So that's how you accept a payment, demonstrated in QuickBooks for bookkeeping. I try to explain a little bit, instead of just the functionality of the program, I try to explain what's behind the bookkeeping. So I'll do more videos on making a deposit, and that's just another step where you go make the deposit, and then this money, this $90 is no longer in this asset, it's credited and debited to this checking account. This mock company, fake company, only has one checking account, or one cash account. You can also call it the cash account. So thanks for watching, subscribe, keep checking back. Thank you.